Ferguson in turmoil. Missouri protesters face off with heavily armed police.
You must disperse immediately. This is no longer a peaceful...
The standoff between protesters and riot police in a St. Louis suburb over the police shooting of 18-year-old Michael Brown has entered its fourth night after the initially peaceful demonstrations turned violent. On Wednesday night, an estimated 500 protesters ignored a night curfew declared by law enforcement. Chanting "Hands up, don't shoot," they faced off against riot police. After failing to disperse the demonstrators, officers fired tear gas and flashbangs in an attempt to clear the road. But the protesters held their ground, lobbing Molotov cocktails and smoke bombs. Fortunately, there were no reports of injuries. The latest night of violence came after a QuikTrip convenience store was looted and torched on Sunday night, a little over a day after the fatal shooting of Brown. The QuikTrip was completely burned down. The shooting of Brown, an unarmed black teenager, by a yet-to-be-identified white police officer has sparked a nationwide fury. Brown's friend Dorian Johnson said he and Brown were walking in the middle of the street when they were pulled over by a Ferguson City police officer who told them to use the sidewalk. The officer stopped his car only inches away from the pair and tried to open the door, which bounced off the pair and closed back on the officer. The officer grabbed Brown by the neck, pulling Brown toward him. He then drew and fired his weapon, hitting Brown. Brown and Johnson tried to run away, but the officer got out of his car to follow Brown and fired a second shot that struck Brown. Johnson ducked behind a car and saw Brown stop and turn around with his hands raised in the air. Brown tried to tell the officer he was unarmed, but the officer continued shooting at him until he fell to the ground and died. Police, however, say that a preliminary investigation indicated that Brown tried to get into the police car and take the officer's gun. They have not yet explained how Brown ended up dead 35 feet away from the car. The clash has worsened racial tensions in Ferguson, a St. Louis suburb where the majority of residents are black, but all but 3 of its 53 police officers white. St. Louis County Police spokesman Brian Shellman said police would review their use of military-style tactics after the night ended. He said the police did not yet know whether they would use the same tactics again if there was another protest.